I'm going to show you a few different ways to mount the Raynox 250 onto an Olympus macro lens. This is the 60mm F2.8, which is one of the most commonly used macro lenses for micro four thirds. Probably the best one I find for the money, but sometimes you need a little bit more magnification, and a lot of people prefer to use these Raynox 250s to increase the magnification from a 1.1 to somewhere around a 1.65 or so magnification, just increasing it, and it really doesn't cut down on the magnification. But to mount these on this lens, the adapter only allows for a minimum of a 52mm for these little pieces here to actually attach to the front of the lens, so you can't mount it directly to this lens without putting some sort of adapter on it. One of the easiest things I've found, if you use one of the lens hoods, the way these store on here, you just click it on, leave it on the lens all the time when you're porting it around. But it also has a little bit of a lip into it, which makes it easy just to take the Raynox on here, just squeeze it in, and then you've mounted it right on the front. So you can just use the lens hood that comes on the Olympus Macro and mount it directly to the lens hood. Sometimes a little bit of light can creep in around the top, but for the most part, don't have any issues with it. The distance from the front lens is fine, and you get a proper magnification, and your autofocus still works with it. So that's the simplest one if you carry a hood around, like a lot of people do for protection, or block the excess light from hitting the front of the lens and causing flares with it. If you want to leave it on all the time, there's a few other things you can do. This is a 46mm filter thread on the front, so you can use something like, if you just want a smaller full-time lens hood that you keep on there all the time, you can leave that on there. It gives you protection to the front of your lens, but you can also clip the Raynox onto it, and it'll work just fine with it. The distance gives a little bit more vignette around the corners on it, but not a lot. And most of the time when you're shooting these macros, a lot of times you're cropping in anyway, so you won't have any problem with the vignette on it. But that makes it real easy. You can just take this off, shoot with the regular 1:1 macro, or throw this back on and increase the macro with it really simply, and not having to move things around a whole lot. You can also, instead of using the lens hood, you can use a step-up ring, which basically you'll go from, say, a 46 that fits on here, and then you clamp this directly to it. And that's what most people tend to use with it. You go 46 to at least 52mm, but a little bit larger, like a 55 to 56 or so. From a 46 to 56 allows for a little more secure fit, and it doesn't cause so much spring tension on here. I really don't like to use a small step-up ring because it causes too much pressure, and it'll wear the springs out in here, and it won't stay on quite as well. Also, you can use a step-down ring, which what you do with it, you go from a 46mm stepping down to a 43. If you want the most secure fitting on the lens, you can actually just unscrew this out of the adapter, and with the step down ring, this is a 43 thread, so you just screw this lens, the Raynox, directly into the 43mm step down ring, and then you mount the 46 to 43 step down ring onto the front of the lens. With this setup, it keeps it the tightest, most secure on the lens. It gets it a little bit closer to the the distance from the front of this to the front of the lens is a little bit closer, and you don't have to worry about any type of vignette, any darkening around your photo at all with it. It's the most secure, but the biggest part is there's no light leak in it that can cause any excess flares or anything that with it. There's probably a few other ways to adapt these, but like I said, this is the most secure. The lens hood setup is probably the fastest, and I use it actually more than any of them because I've always got this lens hood with me to protect the lens, and you just flip it around and mount this on the lens, and it gives you a good bit of block for lights if you're shooting things like portraits or other things with this lens instead of just using it for macro. But it's so fast, and since I always have this with me, just click that on and just put your adapter right on there, and it's just easy to carry with you at all times. I have to remove this adapter here, but this just stays screwed in. Then anytime you want to use it, just pop it on like that. And most people buy this lens hood, comes with it. The factory lens hood is pretty expensive, so you can get a plastic lens hood like this much cheaper. If you can see that, to focus here. JJC LHJ49 lens hood is the model, but it mounts right on here, and it's much cheaper than the factory one. So that's a few different ways to mount that on there. Comes down to whatever your personal preference is, whether you want speed of getting it on and off, or you want the most security with using a step down ring. So I'll put the links to each of these products, and you can sort of look at them and see what may suit your needs best. But all the links will be in the description below, and I'll also put it in the first comment so you can see it easier. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.